This is from a fellow. He wrote me a little while ago, earlier last month, and I'm getting around to it. He says, "Hi, Franssen, I'm a fan." And he writes about how I've influenced him a little bit. He says, "I'm writing this in frustration, but I'm going to try to not be overly negative and ask a specific question at the end." And this is the devouring mother problem. The devouring mother, first outlined by Carl Jung. It's real. Failure to launch is real. Mothers have something to do with this. Oftentimes, they are the biggest part of this. So he says, "I'm 25 years old, and I wanted to grow up and exit the frame of my parents, but I'm unable to. I failed to launch completely. Already, I'm like, I'm not sure about this. I've failed to launch." So, the problem is, there's kind of an equation here. I failed to launch. It's like people have however many units of launch in them. And depending on how they were raised, that might have been whittled down over time. Kids are like optimists, and they are curious about the world when they're young, and this gets ground down out of them over time. Those are basically units for launch. And people have, we'll just say 400 units. That can get ground down over time. I've failed to launch. It's like you have been undermined. Your enthusiasm's been undermined systematically he says he's 25, so we could say decades now. And the other thing, too, is that a failure to launch, it speaks really poorly of the parents. If your child doesn't launch into independence, then you've crippled them somehow. You have put into them self-justifying excuses. You've put into them some sort of philosophy that keeps them consumptive, keeps them cycling on themselves, and not going out in the world and gaining new areas of competency. Anyway, he continues, "I feel the need to have a proper break from my parents. My mom especially has been invasive my entire life. She has sucked the life out of me." So, yeah, an invasive mom is tough. It's important to learn boundaries, of course. It's important. You don't have to tell anybody anything, because mothers demand to know. But you don't have to tell anybody anything. You don't have to say anything that you don't want to say. This relationship, because you're a captor. When you're born to your parents, you're a captive, excuse me. They're the captors. You're a captive, and some parents treat it that way. And they basically squeeze all goodwill out of the relationship through their misbehavior and their abuse, to the point where there's no trust. Any amount of trust should be gained through an appeal. It should be gained through reason. And parents who try to force trust are undermining the very lesson of trust itself. Because if you have parents who are trustworthy and teach you to be able to, who lay off and aren't invasive and just back off whenever you say no, they're teaching you to be a person who will connect with others, who will show good vulnerability. And so when they try to force this out of you, they make it so it doesn't come naturally to you. And they benefit from you being inhibited, because they're essentially cutting you off from other people that you could get feedback on them about. It just boils back down to them. Boils right back down to them. So, yeah, parents who have trust issues, gosh. That's the other thing, too. Parents want fulfillment. They want some sort of emotional need from their children. It's unbelievable. That's why this is so important that you do your work and you recover from your history before you have kids. Because then you won't see it as these little captives to exploit and to create trust issues in, so that then you can have dramas, so then you can have a supply for your own need for drama. It's so bad. It's so bad. How frustrating. And then with invasive parents, you can never win with them. They need to impose their inner feelings on you. That's what invasiveness is about. They sense something in you, like some availability or some sort of empathy, and they need to impose their issues onto you. And so they seek you out, and they open your door, and they're driven to do this by insecurity. And it's such a self-fulfilling thing, because this is bad parenting, so they develop an insecurity about their bad parenting. But that's the true conscience. The false conscience from the false self is just it's an acting out of what they've always acted out. So it's a low maturity parenting style, is the invasiveness. But it's driven by this insecurity, and they create it. It's unbelievable. We turn these people loose with kids, It's unbelievable. Obviously, I don't think there should be a license to procreate. I think that's a complete catastrophe. No way. But yeah, people are just turned loose to have kids, and they just have these incredible, they just have this need to tear down their kids, and that justifies the drama, the invasive drama. Well, I did it for your own good. And I planted the seeds that sprouted. Now you're all messed up, and I need to tend to that. I think some people would also call this Munchausen by proxy syndrome, where the mother infects the kid with some sort of malady. That's what invasive mothers are on their way to doing.